On this episode of the podcast, I have Loom AI CEO and co-founder Mahesh Ramasubramanian on the podcast. He has an expert background on building avatars. He actually worked for DreamWorks for quite a number of years in terms of developing avatars and visual effects for a lot of the movies you've seen. And now he's a co-founder and CEO of Loom, and he's bringing that to life. Mahesh, thank you for being on.
Excited to be here, Amir.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I tried with the name a couple of takes, in all honesty. So if somebody's listening to it, that was third or fourth take. But can you actually fully pronounce it? I want to do justice to your full name.
Absolutely. I'm Mahesh Ramasubramanian. And yes, that last name has 15 letters. I think it's one more than Schwarzenegger. So
Too funny. Thanks for being on. And I know I just did a quick, read into your background. I can't do it justice. Can you maybe let everyone know who you are and how you got to where you're at now?
Sure. Yes, again, I'm Mahesh, and I'm very passionate about visual computing. I've studied masters in computer graphics at Cornell University. And then I worked for 15 years at DreamWorks Animation, where I was a visual effects supervisor for a few of their recent movies like Madagascar 3, Home, Boss Baby. Had a lot of fun doing that, and my kids loved it. And then I decided to get into consumer devices and getting into the enterprise space. And we started Loom AI.
Awesome. I guess when you look back at the transition, now that you're bringing some of that work to the consumer enterprise space, what's, I guess, your mindset of creating for consumer movies to now creating your own platform? Is the technology still underneath for you as comfortable? Has it taken you some time to kind of, view the technology differently and how you're applying it to Loom?
Yes, absolutely. So, at DreamWorks Animation, we create these amazing movies, and you're telling stories, and central to these stories are the characters. You have these digital characters that are often driven or based on real people. So even if, Shrek doesn't necessarily look like Mike Myers, a lot of his personality comes through from Mike Myers. And so building these characters was amazing for the big screen, but the audience there is a passive consumer. They're sitting back and watching the screen. And what we've been seeing is that the audience is becoming more of active participants. So they want to interact in these different digital mediums. And central to that is being able to have a digital avatar for people. Once you have a digital avatar that you can create, customize, and interact with, suddenly there are lots more possibilities that open up. So one of the big challenges for us in starting this company was, how do you take a lot of the manual and very expensive steps where you had a server farm running and building characters? How do you take that technology and that know-how and bring it to the enterprise and consumer space where things have to be automatic? It has to work across much bigger scale and in quick time. So, and the answer to that is AI. So that's the big change that's happened. And we caught that trend where we could see that we could use AI to replace some of these manual steps. And that's what we've done. So we basically built a 3D avatar platform that makes it easy to create your avatars, customize your avatars, and then be able to deploy it into video, voice, and 3D applications. And that's what Loom AI does right now.
Interesting. Yeah. And so if anyone's listening to the podcast, we're recording the video as well. So you'll see clips of this. You'll see it on YouTube. And Mahesh was kind enough to use the avatar, the product, and it's really cool because I'm looking at it. It's so lifelike, and the gesturing is it's just so real to me. I guess one question kind of tying what you did at your previous job at DreamWorks and now. So obviously, I've only heard about how expensive these movies are. Looking at Shrek to Boss Baby, the technology has shifted. As you saw that technology shift, the power, and now you're bringing in AI. What's been your view of just that transformation from Shrek 1, where Shrek 2001, where it's really modern looking, it's nice, but then Boss Baby looks so lifelike, to now what you're doing with Loom AI?
It's interesting how, even though I worked for 15 years and across a wide range of movies at DreamWorks, each frame approximately took 10 hours on average. Whether it was 15 years back or 20 years back on Shrek or the most recent movie. So what that implies is the time to render tends to stay very, very high for one frame. And that's because that's not what you're optimizing for. You're kind of optimizing for the best image quality that you can put out there, and not about speed or making it real time or interactive or anything like that. So the goals are slightly different there. Of course, a lot of techniques were brought into animation and visual effects production where you could visualize these creations more interactively. So that was a big change that happened, and we saw where actors could come in and they didn't have to perform and then come back a week later to see how it materialized. They could actually see a version of it live using game engines, using live tracking and things with a lot of hardware. But the trend was, behind the scenes, people wanted the interactivity and immediacy. But the final images that made it to screen, those always took a long, long time. And so, that technology wasn't necessarily, there were parts of it which could be, adapted to the consumer and enterprise space right now. But the goals were very different. But we did see that technology was definitely making a big change in the filmmaking process at DreamWorks.
So you mentioned AI. So I think this might be a good transition to talk about how that's simplifying this. Because I'm just looking at this. I'm looking at the avatar, and you said, and we'll talk about the product, Loom AI, and you're like, people can download it. I can set one up. I'm thinking that type of what you just described, a movie making, obviously it's got to be pixel perfect. People are, going for the experience, but all of a sudden to create an avatar of myself that's going to be lifelike, the technology, maybe talk about, what goes in behind the scenes to a certain level in terms of being able to allow a general audience to create something of this magnitude.
Absolutely. It's, it's exciting what we are able to do these days. I couldn't have imagined, what I'm showing you right now is a demonstration of Loom AI, which hopefully your audience will get to try very soon as well. It's pretty amazing. The fact that we are able to build an avatar very quickly, in seconds, on a mobile phone or on a desktop for anyone in the world, and allowing them to customize it again, in interactive speeds, and finally being able to interact with it in real time. Many different components here. So I'll talk about each of these, and all of them need AI big time. So the first step of the process is building your avatar. Now, to build a character in a movie, obviously that quality is very, very high, but it takes months of effort for each character and a lot of manual, someone modeling these characters, looking at reference. And what we are trying to do is, how can you automate that process so that someone picks up a phone, takes a single photograph, and within seconds, you get a version of yourself that you can then edit? How do you go from 6 months of work to a few seconds on a phone? And deep learning is an important part there, where we are able to take a single photograph, analyze it, and figure out how can you go from a 2D representation from a front-facing photo and give you something in 3D that might look like you. And this is, our brain does this every day. Babies learn to look at a photograph and imagine how the person must look, because, as humans, we know how to look at faces and, imagine how they might look in 3D. Amir, I'm seeing you for the first time like this over a video call, but in my head, if I can imagine how you might look in 3D, and I wouldn't be too surprised if I saw you, face to face after COVID another day. And that's because we can do a good job at this translation from 2D to 3D, and that's what deep learning does here. We've trained it on a lot of data, and it can identify characteristics or attributes from your photograph. For example, do you have a 5 o'clock shadow? Are you wearing glasses? Is your hair long or short? What is the skin color? What's your pupil color? So you can extract all of this information and bring it into the avatar. And so we've kind of used AI to build the initial version of your avatar, but then allow people to customize it, because it's up to the user how they want to present themselves. And even though in reality their hair might be short, they might say, hey, I want to have longer hair, I want to have it colored, however. So AI helps with the building of the 3D avatar, and then automatically fitting a rig to it, so that after you build the avatar, it can actually move. It has musculature and things like that. The next step is the actual interaction. And for interactivity, what you're looking at is, how do you track the animation on a person's face? There is head movements, there is lip movement and mouth shapes, and then of course there's a whole body movement and gestures. The area we focused on with Loom AI is the audio tracking and the face tracking. So audio tracking, what happens here is you're going from purely audio to animation of a mouth. Again, in the movies, this is done manually by hand, or putting lots of markers on the mouth so you can see every articulation. And of course, you can't do that when we are sitting in front of a Zoom call. But what we do is we've trained these models, deep learning models, on going from audio to mouth shapes. And it can do that in any language. It's kind of language agnostic. So I could be talking in a different language and still get approximately the right mouth movements. So the AI is used to go from audio to animation, to lip animation. And I'm just going to give a quick demo here, where I've just switched to a mode in the Zoom call we are in, where my camera is turned off, and all the animation you're seeing right now is purely from me talking. It can identify if I am talking, so I can play animations that look like I'm talking, or if I'm still, it can relax a little bit more. At the same time, it's doing lip sync, and it can identify things like if I were to laugh.
Oh, wow.
Then we are able to identify that there is laughter and automatically play the correct animation for it. So there's a lot of AI going behind this, in going from just animation, from audio to animation. And then there's the facial expressions. So right now for this demonstration, I've just turned on my video, and now you can see my eyebrows. I'm moving my eyebrows, I'm blinking, I'm moving my mouth. Yeah. So all of this is happening again in real time. Again, a lot of it is based on robust tracking. And what AI does here is, apart from just the tracking itself, the robustness is what comes from AI. Because you're looking at my face, and the lighting is not that great, actually. I'm lit very strongly from one side, and a human brain can look at my face and analyze it and knows what I'm doing. But for a computer to do this, it's pretty amazing. And I can do things that I can go really far away. You can have I can be looking slightly off to the side. It might not even look like a face, and it still knows what to do. So it's pretty amazing that you can train these to interpret the video and be robust to different lighting, different kind of artifacts in the film grain, and things like that. Sorry, long-winded answer.
No, it's awesome.
AI is used in every part of the pipeline, and we knew this was going. When we started the company, we knew could be possible, but we hadn't seen any proof point yet. And we're really happy to be bringing this product out so that everyone can try it. Now, it is it's sophisticated processing that's happening, and it's still not something that can run on your Chromebook. But we were starting off with making sure these things are possible, and now we need to bring it to every possible device and different GPU configurations and whatnot.
It's what's so funny is that you have and again, I'm going to put a lot of this video up, and you're in the image in the video in the background with the avatar at the foreground, and I gravitate towards looking at the avatar because it's so realistic, and I glance at you and I'm like, aside from it being an avatar, the eye movement, the facial, as you're saying, the mouth shapes are your hand shapes, your head nodding. It's so lifelike. It's kind of crazy. I was going to ask you, like, when you guys first started this, and I want to get into some of the use cases of the product, but when you first started creating this technology, when you look back, how wide was version 0 what you put out, and this, like, how big a quantum leap did you guys take to get to this point?
Yeah, no, it's amazing how much you can do in a short time these days. And we have an incredible team. And one thing that we are reminded, my co-founder and I are, we are a Y Combinator company from 2016, and when we went in to show the Y Combinator, it's an accelerator program in Silicon Valley. We went in to show them what we were building. At that time, we took a big, heavy MacBook Pro into the presentation, and it took 7 minutes to go from a single photograph to the 3D avatar. And we would set it up there, take the photograph, run it, and continue talking. And 7 minutes later was when it showed up.
Wow.
And now that's 5 seconds. And it doesn't need that big, heavy laptop. It can run on most devices.
Wow.
And, hats off to someone like Y Combinator who could see the potential of this. And they know that technology is going to get faster. And so 7 minutes itself was amazing, because we were, you're cutting down from months of work. So that itself was very good. But there is the consumer have very high demands these days. And they want things to happen immediately. You want it to instant gratification. So it has to get faster, and it has to be very robust. So that's the other thing. Before, the conditions were very special. You would have to give an input photograph to the system, which had to be perfect lighting, perfect facial, how you position your face. But now it is much more robust. It can go and find the face and build it. I'm just going to go to a different mode here in my video. I'm going to be in this AR mode for a second, where I've kind of just replaced my head with an avatar's head.
Very interesting, man. Very interesting. In terms of the use cases, because I think you obviously we're dealing with movies, the technology. We've talked about that. Now you're doing this in 5 seconds, up from 7 minutes, which sounds amazing. In terms of the consumer, I can see that the enterprise. Like, what's your vision of where this is used? Like, how is it going to be adopted? Who's the main user of the technology?
Yeah, let's maybe talk about where would you use avatars, and then we'll start from there. So there's a lot of digital mediums in which people communicate these days. So and when I say communicate, I'm including things like playing games, being on chat, getting into virtual worlds. And in all of these mediums, it would benefit to have a personalized 3D avatar, so that if you're chatting with someone on text, you should be able to have your emojis look like yourself, not just a yellow generic face, but bring some personalization to even chat. Your digital persona, it could be on LinkedIn, it could be on your company web pages, in school, university web pages. It's often that people don't actually upload their photographs. they want to not necessarily, for the privacy, they don't necessarily want to put out their photo everywhere. And an avatar makes it easier for them to, present themselves. And that brings up this topic of privacy. So an avatar can be used for, in video calls for more privacy. You have something like Zoom where you have Zoom backgrounds where you can kind of cover your background. But this is the first time you can actually replace yourself with an avatar representation. And so it helps with privacy and equity, because it's often that you don't want to necessarily judge, people coming in based on, how their rooms are looking or how they're dressed. And there is a way an avatar allows for equity. One thing that we were already working in solving all of these problems, but something that came up only after March because of COVID was this issue of fatigue as well. We are in so many virtual calls and meetings these days that to keep your camera turned on the whole time and stare at it is hard. And that leads to a lot of fatigue. And there's a lot of research that has gone in this area. One of our company advisors, his name is Jeremy Balinson. He's a professor at Stanford, and he's done a lot of research on why this fatigue happens. And some of the reasons are, getting into Zoom calls, you're looking at a lot of real faces, really close to camera, looking at you, and you being constantly on camera. So there's a lot of visual overload here. And something that he has done a lot of research on is seeing simplified avatar representations. It could even just be a cuboid, and not even as expressive as we have built, helps in simplifying, making it a little less stressful for people in these calls. So we are trying to, reduce this fatigue issue. And this is particular to this particular age of COVID. And then, this is a way, it's a persona. It's a way for expressing yourself. It's much easier to, switch into, an avatar of yourself where you have purple hair. So, it allows you to, express yourself, have some fun. All of these meetings, it gives a way for people to, try different. You might want to come in with some formal clothes or try on some casual clothes for a different meeting. So it gives a lot more options.
It's fascinating.
So different reasons to try this, and there are different markets that can see value in all of these issues. And these days, actually, everybody can benefit from it because everyone is in a video call. But there is, different enterprises which are trying this right now.
How do you see? So I guess, the Zoom calls daily. I mean, there's so many of them. You're right. It eventually, you feel like you're always on. I think that's to me, that's how I was kind of equating it. I think you brought some science into it. The one thing that's missing is going to conference. Like that was things we did part of everyday life, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 20,000 people. How do you envision this helping with that side of the house in terms of replacing conferences, giving somebody the feeling that we're next to each other? Obviously can't be on a Zoom meeting with 50,000 people.
Yes. So virtual worlds will need some 3D representation of people. And so that was actually one of the, when we started the company, VR was, very hot and something people thought it would take off much sooner. It's taking longer, but the aspect of being in virtual reality needs people to be in 3D. So what we are building hopefully will allow many of these virtual worlds to bring in avatars like what we're building into those scenes. And again, it has the similar challenges of building your avatar and having a version that can be animated so that you can actually feel presence in these sessions. And so in conferences, there are all three different use cases that we've talked about kind of apply. We've seen cases where there was a conference where they wanted every person who came to the conference to be able to have a digital persona that they could use in the in the website and pages that they go to. So the conferences have contacted us and had the ability for every person attending a conference virtually to have a avatar as their profile image. Even that kind of helps, make everything more consistent. Everyone can be present. And then we've had many people who are presenting or listening use products like Loom AI so that they can be on the video call, but as their avatar. And finally, there is the virtual worlds, where if you're actually meeting in 3D, you can export these avatars out in a 3D format and bring them to those meetings.
Very cool. It changes the dimension of some of those avatars you see for gameplay that are a little bit less lifelike, a little bit less generic. This is, and when you export them in terms of the interactivity, does that change much, or is there similar levels of interactivity that the avatar still has?
Different types of interactivity, because in a video call you could be sitting in front of a microphone and a camera, so you've got different ways of tracking yourself. In a virtual world, there might be other ways you can do it. You might not be sitting in front of a camera, so now you use audio tracking, which we have, and then you might have if you're in actual VR, then you can be tracking people by the headsets that they're wearing or things that they're carrying in their hands. So different tracking modes for presence that can be used.
Fascinating. Do you see any? I guess just something popped in my head was like the mental health care aspect of it. People who are, maybe don't like to interact live. I mean, are you seeing use cases, or do you envision use cases for maybe mental health care or that side of the field?
We've had interest from quite a lot of different areas, and telemedicine is one of those areas where there is a lot of interest. We are not trying to substitute all video or audio with avatars. We are kind of offering it as a third way of being present. We hope that in the future, everywhere where you have a way to have an audio call or a video call, you're given the option of an avatar call. And there are good reasons to be in any of those three. And the avatar call has its advantages. And we've seen in telemedicine, people, companies showing interest in, people who want to, who might not want to, keep it private. But if you go completely audio, then you have no visual presence. There's also the aspect of, being able to show some kinds of visuals of how you look. You might choose to, make your body proportions or your face look more like you are. And so there are interactions that can happen. We've heard about this, for even the mental health care, there has been interest. And we've heard of scenarios where some people who don't like to be in big groups, even without this COVID situation, they actually want to meet over video calls. And even there, they don't necessarily want to, turn on their video. So this is an option.
What's interesting is, I think all those cases seem like they would really benefit. And something as simple as Google Meet, where it's simple to hit the icon, add the Google Meet to your calendar if it's more than 2-3 people, and we do it a lot. I jump on, and all of a sudden nobody has their video on. You turn your video off. There's 3 or 4 squares with initials on it. And it feels like it's not much different than if you were sitting around a telephone with the conference call. And I was just thinking, it'd be so much easier just to interact with people if these avatars popped up. It would allow so much more context, even though, everyone doesn't always have to want to visually show their face, depending on, I had a call where I could sense the guy had a kid somewhere and there's a little business, and I'm sure he didn't want a hand come into the video and the avatar. I was going to ask you about that in terms of, like, let's say there's outside a child coming into play or outside. Is the avatar actually eliminate with the technology to make sure that doesn't come into play when someone's in front of it?
Like you can see, the fact that we are only rendering out an avatar means no one else is going to pop in. There is that eliminates it. Yeah, it completely eliminates it. Now, the audio of the person walking in might interfere with your audio. So we encourage people wearing a headset, like we both are in calls, so that your voice is the most prominent. So that's not an area we are actually tackling in audio interference. But no, definitely for privacy. We were covered in a New York Times article where they were talking about the new remote workplace, and all the images they used in that article were, people having calls sitting in their bedrooms, in their kitchens. And of course, there's going to be activity going on. And, that's the reality of how it is. And this is, this definitely will help. Our company, even before COVID, half our company was remote all over the world. And now, of course, everybody's remote. And, we meet every day with our team. And we have a call of about 20 people in there. And everybody uses our product. And it's really nice to see that this is much better than just audio. Rather than us walk in and then see a sea of black screens or just initials, you now have a visual. And you start associating people with, I know, hey, that's Mahesh. That's how he comes in. And there is some visual feedback. There's a lot of these body language things which are very important. Are you nodding? Do you want to use a reaction? In Loom Live, we have all these reactions where you can clap or you can say, hey, let's celebrate. So these are very important visual cues you can add. So audio is great because it's the maximum privacy. But what we are saying is, let's take the privacy of audio and add the visual presence of avatars. So that's the benefit of bringing avatars into this scenario. And, it would be a dream for us to have the option that easily available in these video conferencing applications, where literally right now in all of these applications, you have a video and audio, and we just literally want to see the avatar button right next to it. And we think, we are testing it out ourselves every day in our meetings. So we are very active critiques of our own work and how can we do things better. And there are different things, we try. Even if you want to have your status be shown, we're looking at ways of, hey, if I'm sitting in front of the camera and if I walk away, we can identify that's happening, and the avatar can actually get up and walk away. So that's going to be available in the product very soon. So you want to be very true to the person who's listening. You're not hiding behind an avatar completely. It is just a representation for you, and people can trust the avatar that, hey, that's you, and you are responding, and there's a way for you to react and give notifications.
It's brilliant. So I guess just one question talking about the product. In terms of, let's say somebody's really interested in the actual usage of putting it on a device. Is it just a download picture? Can you walk us through how you actually set it up? Maybe just high level, just some context of it. Absolutely,
yeah. So it's 3 steps. One step is we have a mobile app on iOS and Android. It's called the Loom Avatar app. You download that, you build your avatar. Second step, we have a desktop application called Loom Live, which you download and install and you run. It runs as a companion to any video conferencing app. And now your avatar shows up in Loom Live. And you have options to turn on video tracking or audio tracking only, or AR mode. And then the third step is get into your any video call and look in your camera options, and you will see an option for a new virtual camera called Loom Live. So just as you might see Logitech or FaceTime, you will see one more camera pop up right there called Loom Live. You select it and you're in. So it's
I love it.
Yeah, 3 steps.
I'm going to try this because I'm just psyched. I mean, I've been watching you during our podcast, and I'm just seeing the different characters that come up, and I'm like, it's just so compelling to want to try. I'm going to do it, and then FaceTime my wife and kind of just surprise her, and she's like, "What's that? I want it." I'm curious. So, you mentioned when you walked into YC, it took 7 minutes. Now it's under 5 seconds. If you were going to put on your forward-thinking hat in the span of 3 years, quantum leap of what you first attempted to now, what do you think happens with the product? Like, where does it go in 3 years, 5 years time? Like, where does the technology enable you to do better, more of?
Yeah, we can imagine, and things are going to keep happening, but we still want to try more types of tracking. So can you have 5 people in the same call on the same camera and all of them be their avatars and be tracked live? Now you're making it harder and harder.
Yeah.
Right now you have one person being tracked in real time. And so can you have multiple avatars simultaneously within the same session? So that's one area of improvement we can look at. And then different types of tracking, gesture tracking, body tracking. All of these can happen again live. So different modes of interacting with your avatar. And then the type of avatar itself, we've built this style we call Loom AI style. It's, we believe, a good balance of recognizability and expressiveness. If you go completely hyper-realistic, you might enter into this uncanny valley that, some of your audience might have heard of, where if it looks very real, then you expect it to move completely real. And if it doesn't, you're going to be thrown off, and you're not going to like it. So having a stylized avatar is good for that case. It also allows you to be a lot more expressive. My smile can be much bigger than my real smile. I can raise my eyes much wider than I can do in reality. So it makes it more fun. It adds even more value to it. But having said that, there could be more styles that we could provide. We could provide the more hyper-real style because someone might want to come in like that, and which might mean more processing. Like you might need to scan your face with a 3D scanner, and now bring that in. And now because it's a hyper-real avatar, you need to do even better at all the twitches in your face and every detail. So that's one direction you can go in, making it more real, but continue to make it run on every device. Right now, if things were made more real, they tend to work only on the cloud. You do all the heavy lifting on the cloud, very expensive, and you send back an image. But the challenge would be, can you bring that right onto the device? So, those were some areas we hope to, venture into and look at.
That's awesome. Yeah, I actually love when I speak to someone who is using AI to put a product out now that's real. Like, I know a lot of, people view self-driving cars as a big application of what the future of, robotics and AI is going to bring us. But this is like something that you can download on a mobile device, try it out. I mean, it's so compelling to do. I hope everyone who listens to the podcast gives it a shot, because I think it's something that we've not had, and I'm going to use it on my Google Meet or my Zoom calls when I don't want to use my face. I think I'm going to definitely adopt this as a part of my process. I appreciate it. Thanks for being on. Thanks for educating us about the product, and thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Amir. This was a lot of fun, and we are really excited to be launching this product September 1st, and hope many people get to try it, and it adds value to their lives.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll link to the URL to the Loom AI Live products. Everyone can download it and get access to the relevant app store. But appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amir.
Absolutely. And thank you for listening to the podcast. I hope you guys are going to go try this out. It's, actually, you got to go see the video for this one, because I think it's a lot better than just the audio. I love the audio, but the visual to me was really cool. I had the good fortune of seeing the whole time. Please leave us a review. Reach out with the next suggestion for a topic or a type of guest that you're trying to listen to, and we'll be back next time. Thanks.